how colony collapse disorder affects them.
And situations and breeding that cause the bees that are used in commercial beekeeping, they aren't as able to withstand some of the problems that we seem to have in beekeeping around the world. One of them would be parasites, and that's one of the groups. And the worst parasite that we have as far as destruction of the bees is the varroa mite. One of the big problems with the varroa mite is not that the mites actually kill the bees, but what they do is they vector or they carry viruses. And they can carry as many as 6 different viruses that they can then inject into the baby bees, into the larvae as they're growing. Varroa mite, a female, goes into the cell of the bee just before the bee is ready to spin a cocoon. And it attaches itself underneath the brood food, and it sits there and it starts laying eggs. The mother mite starts laying eggs. First, she lays male eggs, her sons, and they develop, and then after they're getting mature, and then she starts laying female eggs. So those are her daughters. They mate in the cell with the larva. And then they feed on the larva. And as they're feeding, they puncture the skin of the larva, and that's when the viruses enter the larvae, the bee larvae, and start making them sick. What we have is it's called deformed wings syndrome. And so when the bees actually emerge, ready to start their life as worker bees, they have tiny little ragged little bits of wings. Their wings just don't develop well. So they can never fly, so they can never go out and forage and help the hive by bringing food in. They don't live very long, so you lose bees a lot faster. And gradually, the colony just dwindles. If it is varroa mite is the worst to deal with. Then we have some diseases, and so we have diseases that affect the larvae and kill the larvae in other ways. And so the worst one of those is it's called American foul brood. Not becomes is a little cell that is in the air and passes from bee to bee, and the bees carry it in their mouth parts and that kind of thing, and they pass it from bee to bee when they're feeding the young larvae. The spores in it grow in the bee and can kill the bee. Smelly thing. Foul brood is named foul brood because it is kind of stinky. It's kind of a rotten, smelly thing. So we have to watch for that kind of thing, and that's very difficult. So that's another one of what we call a suite of symptoms. Then there's other diseases as well.
My name's Chris Bright. I'm a beekeeper, apitherapist. I have a small number of bees, but lots of opinions on the colony collapse disorder.
To you, what is the definition of colony collapse disorder?
Well, I'm not sure I know. Colony collapse disorder has been defined variously, but what it means to most people is you go to your beehive and find no bees in the box. No dead bees, lots of food, but they're gone. That's been termed colony collapse disorder, and this has been seen in huge numbers across the Western world, especially North America. We really don't know what colony collapse disorder is, but I strongly suspect it's a result of using chemicals on the hives where the wax has picked up the chemicals and have the bees laying eggs, developing in wax that is completely saturated with insecticides. They have to become immune system challenged. Then they're on monocropping. You're having bees go into square miles of the same crop. Bees need various kinds of pollen. They can't just live on one kind of pollen. They need different kinds of pollen. They're trucked across the nation, from almonds in California to oranges in Florida, from Florida for clover up in Minnesota, Iowa. This stresses the bees out horribly. You add it all up, they're under enormous pressures. Added to that, the fill-in bees come from Australia, New Zealand. The queens come from Chile or Hawaii. They're not matched. There's no breeding program. And you're just constantly losing bees.
Well, there's a lot of things that are going on now, and one of the biggest things is the awareness of the necessity for protecting species like honeybees. We need pollination in order for us to eat the fruits and vegetables and things that we need as a species as well. So it's not just the bees, but or the honeybees, but there's bumblebees and there's all kinds of other pollinating insects. We're really destroying our own environment and our own, if you want to call it, livelihood in developing food and producing food for ourselves to eat. We're really shooting ourselves in the foot with the way we're polluting water and that kind of thing. So what we need to do is we need to, as a human population, I think we need to look at this kind of thing and do what we can do in our small ways, each of us individually, to keep our planet a little bit cleaner. Maybe not drive so much. Maybe ride our bikes to the store. That kind of stuff. You've learned it all in school anyway. I'm sure you have. So we have to do more of that, and more of us have to do it in order to keep our planet healthy for us too.
Okay, next question. How do you think we can help the honeybees?
Well, through education. There has to be a complete awareness made of the honeybee and how they impact our lives. And I think the government should actually give tax breaks to beekeepers to encourage more apiculture.
Oh, I certainly hope not. I don't know that for sure. I would like to think that there are enough people working hard enough that they're making the rest of us aware of what we need to do our part. It isn't a lot. It's just doing things sensibly and ethically. So, I think humans are going to be smart enough to realize what we're doing, and we're going to actually probably pull it out of the ditch just before the accident. I hope so, because it would be a huge loss. It would be a serious thing if we lost all the pollinators. I can't imagine what we would be eating. It would be interesting, but probably not quite as good for us as what we really need.
Yeah.
It's hard for us to change too. We can manufacture food and all of that, but we still need fresh water. We still need, good air and that kind of thing, and we need nutritious food that we've evolved to eat. So we have to grow that stuff. So I sure hope we can do it.
Okay, last question. Do you think the honeybee will ever go extinct?
Not anytime soon. Not anytime soon. Even with the prevailing conditions and the official line on how to keep your bees healthy, that's going to be halfway effective all the way through. I can't see the bees, but I can see it costing more to keep bees, and I can see the bees getting more ill less strong. I do see that. We can't keep bringing bees in from Australia, Hawaii, Chile, etc. We have to make a program where we supply our own bees, and we have a bee stock that lives in our conditions and thrives.
Thank you.
My pleasure.